This episode is brought to you by Podbean, the easiest, most affordable option to get started in podcasting. Stay tuned to hear how you can get your first month of Podbean for free. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Committed Critics, a pop culture podcast where we're not only committed to our opinions, but also each other.
Aww.
I'm Kevin Lau.
And I'm Zachary Wright, and we have another special guest star today with us. Who are you, special guest star? Woo!
Hello, I'm Danny Vincent. I am a person, as you might know.
Whoa.
Crazy.
I know, crazy, right? Who would have thought? I host two of our podcasts. One of them is called the Snub Club, which I didn't listen to the episode yet, but I saw that we were mentioned in the description for your Oscars episode, so maybe we were mentioned before. I don't know. And then I also host Wise with Ty and Dan, which I know you mentioned in your WandaVision episode at least. So
Yep.
yeah, so
Woo!
yeah.
Yeah, no, and just a quick plug for Why Is with Ty and Dan. If you listen to the Civil War episode, I appear on that as well.
That's true. That's true. And right now we're going to be doing a series of a bunch of anniversaries. Right now we're doing I think we just put out a Thor episode because it's Thor's 10th anniversary, which makes me feel insanely old.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. No.
I know, right? It really is just like, huh? Where did that time go? I'm having a friend on who I saw Thor with also, so it's just like, wow, this is crazy.
I can't believe you guys talked about Civil War for 3 hours. I listened to most of it. I'm still not done with it.
To be fair, at
actually
least
recorded
about
for 4 hours.
yeah, and to be fair, at least about 40 minutes of it is me. What do we talk about? Can You Ever Forgive Me and Cat in a Hat. So
Okay.
at least 40
And
minutes
Invincible.
yeah. So it's just random stuff.
I love it.
I feel like our podcast is more like a radio show than anything else because we really don't care about staying on track too much, which is a good thing in my opinion. But yeah, that's me. That's who I am.
Yeah. So you can go ahead and listen to the Snub Club and Why Is with Ty and Dan, and they're linked in the description if you want to check them out. So now, but today we're not talking about Why Is with Ty and Dan specifically. We are talking about SpongeBob and how would we end SpongeBob? But first, before we talk about how we would end SpongeBob, we should give our SpongeBob cred. Let you guys know that we are scholars in this field. Not me. I'm not as much of a scholar.
No offense. I would say I am, unless Zach, there's a secret like SpongeBob theory.
Where's the leak, ma'am?
All right. I think
Danny's
I'm
an actual scholar.
Yeah. I think I'm the scholar here.
Danny's a scholar. I am the nerd of SpongeBob.
I am, a casual fan. I don't know. I'm very
Casual.
familiar with the first 3 seasons and the movies.
Pleb.
My interest in SpongeBob kind of sputters out beyond the 3 seasons in the movie. It just kind of like, I've watched some episodes here and there, just kind of like, they're kind of whatever. My favorite episode is Help Wanted, which is the pilot. And my favorite quote is, "Hi, Kevin."
Do you want it to hurt me, Kevin?
I wonder why that's your favorite quote.
No idea. It actually, in all reality, it should be my least favorite quote. What about you, Zach? What's your credentials?
My credentials is like one of my personality traits in high school was just my infinite amount of SpongeBob quotes I would bring up at random times. Like I'd just go like, "Is mayonnaise an instrument?" Like during band class, and everyone would be like, "Zach, why?" And everyone would get a chuckle out of it. My favorite 2 episodes I would say are the Bubble Dome with the marching band because such a
Great
performance.
episode. Phenomenal.
Yes. Phenomenal.
Definitely top 5 for me too.
And then my other favorite, I can sing all of Ripped Pants word for word, so there's that. But yeah, and I already did my "Where's the leak, ma'am" joke. So Danny, what is your credentials, my friend?
All right, so buckle in. So first off, when I was a kid, I didn't have cable.
Okay.
I went to a friend's house, and the first episode I saw SpongeBob. I remember this because it's actually kind of weird I remember it. But it was the Bubble Buddy episode of it, and I thought it was absolutely great. Brilliant first episode of SpongeBob for me to see. But I didn't have cable. So what I did is I asked my parents if I could have the season box sets, and I was like 8 at this time. So I was like, no, I know I get the most amount of episodes if you guys get me these season box sets.
Yeah.
So I had the first 3 seasons of SpongeBob on DVD, even though I didn't have Nickelodeon. Then, when the movie came out, I wrote up the movie came out when I was 9.
Okay.
I had my dad sign a sheet of paper, and he was like, okay, Danny, whatever. He signed the sheet of paper. And then I wrote around it a contract saying he'd take me to see the movie in theaters. And he honored the contract. He took me.
That is beautiful, sir. That's why he's a scholar, and I'm just a nerd.
Yeah. So then I also, whenever the Best Day Ever episode came out, they did that 24 Hours of SpongeBob. My parents, bless them, they really spoiled me. They let me go to a hotel to watch it.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
I know, right? But moving on to me being a scholar in SpongeBob is when I was in college, I took an animation history class, and I wrote a paper about the 2 SpongeBob movies. At the time, there was only 2. And my argument was, even though I will say entirely clear, the first SpongeBob movie is way better than the second movie.
Oh,
way better.
David Hasselhoff.
Exactly.
Well, I would say it's better than Sponge on the Run as well.
Well, Sponge on the Run is bad as well. That's hold on. Let me continue. My paper was arguing that the first SpongeBob movie is a piece of conservative media, while the second SpongeBob movie is a piece of neoliberalism, because they both came out during the presidencies. I want to be entirely clear. I don't actually believe these things. I just thought it'd be a fun paper to write. But I kept saying that, I have to write a paper now, because you mentioned Sponge on the Run. I have to update my paper and include the new movie and make it be about Joe Biden or Trump.
Right.
But what I realized is I don't actually like the new movie that much, but I do, and this leads to my last thing that gives me my SpongeBob credentials, is I studied theater in college, and the first show I ever saw on Broadway was the SpongeBob Musical.
Oh,
and I think that would actually be a better way to politically analyze the moment for SpongeBob.
You know what? Bravo, sir. Bravo. I have not seen the SpongeBob Musical at all, even on bootleg, so tip of the hat.
I actually highly recommend the SpongeBob Musical. It is it's a great time. It's well done as a musical, and it's really well done as a fan of SpongeBob. And you don't even actually you have to seek out a bootleg. I think you can rent it off Amazon for like $3 because they recorded it professionally.
Cool.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah, they professionally recorded. I think you can also find the DVD at Walmart.
Yeah. They did put out a DVD. You're right. You do want to make sure well, I was going to say, don't watch it on Nickelodeon's website if they have it, because they have it edited down to a 2-hour time slot.
Oh, wow.
Granted, the musical itself has cuts in the stage show, the recorded version, but it's like, it's okay. They cut out a really weird scene where like it's just Plankton and Karen flirting for like 5 minutes because Squidward has to change out of his costume.
I love that.
The Karen is actually one of the best parts of the musical, because she doesn't have a song, but since Plankton never interacts with everyone else, she gets all the good jokes. Anyway,
Nice.
the musical's good. But my favorite episode of SpongeBob has to be the Colored Krabby Patties episode. That is 11 minutes.
Pretty Patties.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty Patties. 11 minutes of pure goodness. As for my favorite quote, well, the cheap answer would be, and I'm going to give you my cheap answer, but then my real answer would be, since I'm 25, I have to be like, you know what's better than 24? 25. But since that will soon be outdated, I have to go with, what could be worse than a giant paint bubble? Oh, I know. 2 giant paint bubbles. I love it.
I think an underrated one also is when they're blowing bubbles and SpongeBob blows up like this big like elephant, and Patrick just goes, "It's a giraffe."
That's a great one. And see, the thing is, this is me getting my scholar on. That's a first season episode, and I feel like I always underrate the first season of SpongeBob. Another good one is Patrick, your genius is showing. Where?
Yeah.
That's one I'm always like, I can't believe they got that one by, especially.
Yeah, the first season's pretty clever, I would say.
Yeah. The newer stuff is not as good. I would say here's the thing, always of it, is like, I'm like, well, the new stuff is made for kids these days, so I can't really judge it because I'm not a child anymore.
Right.
But I also think the first 3 seasons like stand up as some of the best seasons of any comedy TV.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure.
I think the newest episode that I like the most is like the Krusty Towers one, and like the where he drives blindfolded, and that's how he gets his like how he passes almost. That's the newest one.
I don't know. I don't think I've seen the blind one, but I have seen Krusty Towers, and you say it's new. But I will tell you right now, I remember Krusty Towers placed in like the top 4 of that SpongeBob countdown that was the best day ever. And I remember getting mad because it was like, I don't know if you guys remember, I don't know if you remember these, but the top 10 were all season 4 episodes with the exception of the camping episode. Now granted, the camping episode is good. Yeah, it was at the time season 4 was airing. So it's very obvious that it was rigged. Karate Island #1 episode? No way. You can't tell me, and you can't tell me kids voted on either, because Karate Island's just a Kill Bill parody.
Right. Yes.
So it's like, I call it. Can I say that? I forget.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Well, we will censor it, so it's fine.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
But Kevin, what is the meat of this episode, sir? Why are we here?
We are here to pitch our what we think the final episode or movie that SpongeBob will have to just end the show forever. Like, this is it. After this, it's over. No more SpongeBob forever.
Can I give some caveats?
No Camp Corral spin-off prequel thing.
Don't talk to me about that. Can I give some caveats for this, though? That's very important in my mind.
Yeah,
and I know you guys already follow this. Is that the finale is a finale. It's not like, you know, how I feel like a lot of shows sitcoms like SpongeBob will end with a normal episode. No, we're giving it an ending, right?
Yeah.
That is the goal here. We're giving it a satisfying ending.
For me, the ending is going to be wrapping up all these little tiny Easter eggs, like what's the Krabby Patty secret formula? Like, obviously, like, the audience will never know what it is, but like, SpongeBob might learn it. Yeah, I have ideas. I fleshed mine out at work with my coworkers a few months ago, which is why I was like, let me on so I can pitch my SpongeBob ending, because I think my ending's pretty good. Obviously, that wouldn't be like, let me go on your podcast to tell you how it ends SpongeBob if I was like, no, this ending's bad.
I mean, I don't know. You didn't put it in the notes, so we're totally blind to it. So I'm going to assume we're saving the best for last. But for first, Zach.
Wait. I want to give one more note. Wait.
Yep.
Can I give one more note? The other note is that I think we would all agree, maybe you guys disagree, that the actual ideal ending for SpongeBob is the first movie.
Yes.
However, I think I think all of our topics keep it as non-canon, right? Like, I think all of our ideas keep it as non-canon. Okay, so I wanted to get that out of the way because that's what the SpongeBob scholars will be asking me: is the movie canon? So,
right.
But yeah. Sorry.
Okay, so
this is my podcast. So back off.
Kicking us off, Zach, what is your pitch for the final episode of SpongeBob?
So I've just kind of outlined a rough idea. Basically, what I just said earlier, it'd be kind of like a cashing in all these running Easter eggs and running gags from the show. So what I have written down right now is the final episode of SpongeBob will begin with Mr. Krabs receiving a letter from the Bikini Bottom Revenue Service, basically the IRS, saying he qualifies for his pension and retirement, meaning that he would have to like get money and get paid without having to work and like spend money elsewhere on operating expenses. We're getting a whole learning curve on how Mr. Krabs runs his business. So he's like, well, I don't have to work or spend money on like operating the Krusty Krab, so I just get paid for free. So he decides like, okay, I'm just gonna sell the Krusty Krab, and he leaves it to SpongeBob if he can pass his boating license test. So that instigates where SpongeBob and Patrick have to come together one last time, so SpongeBob can finally earn his boating license. And of course, like, shenanigans ensue. So like that's kind of like the main conflict of the episode. By the end, Krabs will inform SpongeBob of the secret formula, but it will only, like, obviously the audience is still left in the dark about it. Like, the audience will never know what it is. So I mean, if there's anything you guys wanted to add to it, any other Easter eggs I'm forgetting, I think Squidward would go on to actually like become a renowned clarinetist, if that's the correct term. But yeah,
I would say what I like about your idea, which isn't in mine, is that the boating license.
Yes.
I was toying with mine if I should include the boating license or not, but I think I like that yours is pivoted on that. That is the point of it. Because I do think that is one of the great questions of SpongeBob is, will SpongeBob ever pass his voting license?
Right. And I think that's what I really want the biggest part of this, like the final episode to be, is answering all these lingering questions. Not lingering questions. They're just kind of like gags or Easter eggs, like I said. But like that should be kind of like, it's the series finale. Let's get some kind of closure in form of all these little like things they've set up along the years. And I think the voting license is one of the oldest ones. So
yeah, I think that's a solid angle to work at.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean that's really all I have right now. I'm really excited to hear Danny's. Kevin, what do you have for yours, or do you want to wait till break?
We can go do mine, then we'll go on break.
Okay, sounds good.
So as we said, I'm not considering the first movie canon, but like the first film, my ending is a movie where Plankton actually manages to steal the Krabby Patty secret formula and uses it to make his own Krabby Patties. And then he creates a smear campaign against the Krusty Krab, to the point where Mr. Krabs has to close the restaurant, and with the Krusty Krab closed, SpongeBob feels like he doesn't have a purpose anymore. So to replicate like his feeling of purpose as a fry cook, he tries to open up his own restaurant in his own home, but he fails because it's just not the same. Then through a series of trials and tribulations, SpongeBob learns that home is where the heart is. And his heart is with his friends and the community they help make throughout the series. So kind of like building off of everything that we've seen in the show, and how SpongeBob is, the core of SpongeBob is his devotion to his friends, and how he always wants to help people in the community, even though he may be bad at it sometimes and sometimes makes it worse. Like his heart is in the right place. In the end, like they don't get the formula back, but they don't need to. Plankton, being Plankton, him having the Krabby Patty secret formula is a short-term gain, but long-term loss because of his poor customer service. So he's just, he ends up shooting himself in the foot with his own restaurant. SpongeBob and his friends create a brand new restaurant, and SpongeBob creates a brand new food. And, the ending is him running a restaurant with his friends, and that's successful.
Awesome. I love it.
I like that. I'm curious though. What does what Mr. Krabs? Where does Mr. Krabs fall in here? You know what I mean? Like after he closes his restaurant, does he get a happy ending, or is he just gone?
Mr. Krabs becomes the financial advisor for SpongeBob's restaurant.
Okay.
All right, that sounds good then. All right.
Yeah, everyone gets a happy ending because they all work together. They all come together and be best friends.
I thought you were gonna say Mr. Krabs gets like shot by Plankton, and it turns PG-13 really quick.
Yeah, I mean that's
just a real quick turn.
I have a quick question for you two before we go on break about your ideas. Do you view your ideas as movies? Do you view them as hour-long episodes? Do you view them as half hours? Like, because SpongeBob's length is always very differential in these big events type of storylines.
I consider mine to be a movie.
Mine would be a hour-long episode, because I think it started on TV. It would have to end on TV just for me to have that weird closure, and I'm with you. Mine is an hour long. I'll just tip that hand there. Mine would be an hour long as well. I think it should end
interesting.
Because for me, it was weird. Like, this is gonna be a weird parallel, but follow me here. Like High School Musical, right? It started out on TV, and then the third movie was on in theaters, and it was just kind of weird for me. Like, I get why they did it to make more money, but I'd rather have that closure on the smaller screen.
I get what you're saying, but I also have a weird desire for me to go to a repertory screening of High School Musical 3, because this is very much a sidebar, but I didn't see the High School Musical movies till I was in college, and the fact that the third one uses the exact same Disney Channel soundtrack for incidental music, and it played in a big screen, is so weird to me.
Yes, it's hilarious.
But yeah.
I mean, for my idea, it's a movie, but it could do the dual release of it was on TV.
It's on HBO Max.
And it goes to theaters at the same time.
Just Mr. Krabs getting shot is edited out of the TV one.
The TV version is edited. On that note, we're gonna take a quick break, and we come back. We'll have Danny give his pitch for his ending. Starting a podcast? Try a Podbean Unlimited hosting plan.
It's what we use here at Committed Critics, giving us the opportunity to have our show on Pandora, iHeartRadio, and even Spotify. You can get your first month of unlimited hosting for free on us by going to podbean.com/committedcrits, just like our Twitter, or by clicking the link in the description. Podbean, the easiest, most affordable option to get started in podcasting.
And we're back. Thank you for listening to Committed Critics. And right now, Danny's going to give us his pitch for SpongeBob. How would you end SpongeBob, Danny?
All right. I'll answer your question with a question. What do you guys consider the main character relationship in SpongeBob? Because I have an opinion. And that's what my finale is built around.
The main character relationship?
Yeah, the main relationship that matters in terms of SpongeBob stories.
For me, it's SpongeBob and Patrick.
And Squidward?
No, it's only two people. Only two people.
SpongeBob and Patrick?
Yeah, same.
Nope. I think it's SpongeBob and Squidward. Because they're weird. Because they're friends if the plot demands on it.
Right.
But usually Squidward's annoyed by SpongeBob. But ultimately it comes down to it. Squidward is going to help SpongeBob.
Right.
Right? So my finale is built around their relationship. And it's also built around a wedding. Not between SpongeBob and Squidward. But
between Mr. Krabs and Mrs. Puff?
Yes. Actually, yes.
Because my God.
Well, they actually were... their relationship was brought back in recent years in the show. I've heard.
Oh.
I think like in 2019 they did another episode on it where they're like, no, yeah, we've been dating this whole time. We just don't tell you about SpongeBob. So my idea is about them getting married because that would be a very logical... you have a big event.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And no offense, guys, my big issues with both your ideas is that, in my opinions, and granted, it might be because your ideas aren't too fleshed out, SpongeBob, even though it's SpongeBob, is very much an ensemble show. So my goal for my finale is to give every character a pivotal role in the storyline. But the key storyline being SpongeBob and Squidward.
Can I interrupt real quick? Can I ask one question?
Yes.
Can Patrick be the flower girl?
He could be. I do. He has an interesting part.
Sorry.
Figuring out. No. That's actually where I need your guys' help when I get to it. I don't really know what to do with him. I have a vague idea, but I don't know what to do.
Okay.
So the episode begins with Mr. Krabs and Mrs. Puff. They're getting married, and the wedding's coming up. At the same time, Squidward is accepted to take a position as a clarinet or music history professor in a town far away from Bikini Bottom. Naturally, he accepts this because it's a better job for him than working at the Krusty Krab. But when SpongeBob finds out about it, he begins to panic because he's like, all my life, ever since I've moved into this pineapple, Squidward's been next door to me. What's my life going to be like without Squidward? And the thing is that like Squidward also is like, I'm going to miss SpongeBob, even though he's like, he's not going to show that.
Right.
He's going to be like, nah, I'm okay with going away from you, SpongeBob. That's a really bad Squidward. But when it comes down to it, emotionally, their relationship is what matters in this finale more than anyone else. So at the end of the episode, obviously the wedding's going to happen, but SpongeBob will accept Squidward leaving. But they're going to spend their whole time together prepping, I think, Mr. Krabs' bachelor party. That would be what the main plot line is the two of them have to work on the bachelor party together. Meanwhile...
It's another panty raid.
Meanwhile, Plankton is also in the bachelor party because when it comes down to it, also Mr. Krabs and Plankton are like actually friends.
Right.
If you think about it. And Plankton is picked as Mr. Krabs' best man, which would bother SpongeBob if it weren't for the fact that he's distracted by Squidward right now.
Right.
And at the end of the episode, since Mr. Krabs and Miss Puff are they're going to end up retiring at the end of it because their weddings, they're ending. He's going to give Plankton the Krusty Krab. Mr. Krabs is because he's like, I don't really want to handle this anymore. So you can have the Krusty Krab. However, I have this as a non sequitur ending, which is my favorite part of my pitch, is that nonchalantly at the wedding at the end, Karen's going to announce that she's pregnant.
Interesting. Spicy.
All right.
Like that's like, yeah, I'm pregnant. And they're like, oh, congrats, and no one will think anything about it.
Yep.
And actually, I forgot. I do have the license in the pitch. I lied. But it's gonna be SpongeBob just gets it as a present at the reception of the wedding for Mrs. Puff.
That's
She's
cute.
gonna be like,
Actually,
I'm not gonna
like
live here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then the part where I am not entirely lost, I have a basic idea, is that I think with all this serious stuff, that Sandy and Patrick are the two characters that don't need endings. They're both pretty happy where they are, right?
Right.
I don't think Patrick needs to change, and I think Sandy, the issue of giving Sandy an ending is that for us, Sandy is the karate person, and for people who watch SpongeBob now, Sandy is a science person. So you can't give her a cohesive ending that's satisfying for both people. So my idea is that we get a rare Sandy and Patrick team up subplot where they collect things for the wedding, maybe. But I do want to kind of tie it in better, and that's where I'm kind of lost.
I think
It's kind of like the Valentine's Day episode.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
no, actually, no, not like that.
I was
really,
thinking of the
but-
episode where SpongeBob breaks his butt.
Yeah, that's what it's
Yeah.
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 That was
So what is their wacky shenanigan? Is that-
okay, so
Well,
I
that's
think
where,
for me,
that's
real
where
quick,
I'm lost.
I think you can tie in because Patrick doesn't really have a lot of like his own like aspirations and moral, like he doesn't really do much besides that he's there for SpongeBob, right? So I
Yes.
think you can still have that Squidward and SpongeBob dynamic with Patrick being there for SpongeBob the entire time. It's always Patrick like being there for SpongeBob as they go through this, trying to figure out like, oh my god, what are they gonna do with Squidward moves? This is gonna be a weird like equivalency. It's kind of like Cap, Falcon, and Winter Soldier, like SpongeBob, Squidward, and Patrick. It's that weird dynamic, like what happens when one of them leaves. But
Yeah, I could see that, but the thing is that here's why I have Patrick paired with Sandy. It's because I need to give Sandy something to do.
right, yeah, that's what I
Right, and
realized.
Patrick is
Yeah.
the perfect foil for Sandy, I think,
Right.
because she's really smart, he's really dumb. Let's see what happens.
They kind of
Sorry.
no, so maybe they have to bake like the wedding cake, and it's the two of them just trying to like figure it out. Like Sandy's a really, really like good scientist, but she's terrible at baking.
Exactly. I could see that being a good
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be funny. And the thing is also, I kind of want their plot, and that would work for this. I want their plot to be kind of a goofing off, because the rest of this finale is vaguely serious.
Right.
At least as serious as SpongeBob can be.
Right. Yeah.
So the idea of having
we're just like just designing the wedding or planning the wedding. Like Sandy's the wedding planner, and then
that's what I was thinking. Possibly like
Patrick's the only one that is available to help.
Like Mrs. Puff is just like, Sandy, you're literally the only other woman in this town. Can you plan our
Guys,
wedding?
gender norms much? Jesus.
but no, it's just like and maybe SpongeBob was originally supposed to help Sandy, but then SpongeBob is getting distracted with trying to keep Squidward from moving, and then he's like, Patrick can fill in for me, and then like that just creates that conflict with Patrick and Sandy.
Yeah, that'd be good. I like that a lot.
And I do think it's very important to say that the ending is Squidward leaving. Like that's the Squidward has to go.
I agree.
So that's the major change in status quo.
Yeah. And also that Mr. Krabs and Mrs. Puff is retired, but that's not as big a deal as Squidward not living.
Well, they still like leave technically, quote unquote. Like they just disappeared. Like they disappeared, whatever. Like they would never see Mr. Krabs and Mrs. Puff again. I don't think either.
Maybe. I mean, I would leave it ambiguous that like I just be like, oh, they're going on their honeymoon. But maybe after their honeymoon, they'll come back and live in Mr. Krabs' anchor house. But we don't need that answer,
Right.
The more important thing is Squidward leaving. Because I think ultimately, even though Squidward, like, that's how life is, You leave something in your life and you go, I'm going to miss a lot of this, even though I hated it when it happened. And that's basically what Squidward will be at the end of this. Is like, he will miss SpongeBob, but he probably won't visit. Like,
Rip.
Yeah. No.
So does SpongeBob have a moral of the story to him? Like, does he learn something at the end?
Well,
that
at the end, he learns that all good things come to an end. Like, if he will say goodbye to Squidward, but it doesn't matter what he does. He can't really change the fact that things change. But I also would say, and this is something I'll talk about if I ever come back here, is that the important thing about SpongeBob is that it really doesn't have a moral. So even if, say, Squidward leaves, and that's what happens, and SpongeBob's still sad about it, that's okay. Like, SpongeBob doesn't need to learn that, you know what I mean? Like, he'll learn that he can't change anything about it, and that's all he needs to learn.
Right.
He can't stop the inevitable. Isn't that
Right.
the important message to learn from SpongeBob? You can't delay the life is life. You're
Jesus.
doomed. But yeah.
Rip. I mean, alternatively, we can just rewrite Paddington, but it's just SpongeBob characters.
Yeah, exactly. And Squidward can be the guy who dies in the first hour, like the first 10 minutes.
Rip.
But yeah,
that's the ending.
I enjoy that.
I
a
actually
lot.
really like that.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to rank the endings. That's not fair to either of us. But yeah, this has been a really great episode, and nice talking about SpongeBob, and nice having you on the show, Danny.
Yeah.
Before we close out, is there any final thoughts?
I just want to say that I think Patrick has to be one to bake a magnificent cake.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah.
yeah.
They had to fight back and forth whether it's chocolate or vanilla or acorn flavor.
Well, Sandy just can't do it. She can't figure it out. It's the one thing in science she's never learned is baking. And then Patrick's like, I can do it. And he just whoops up this huge 7-tiered cake.
What if the cake is made of Krabby Patties?
Oh my God.
I would imagine that Sandy is more functionality, whereas Patrick is more design oriented. So it's just so just kind of they both meet in the middle, and then they fall in love. Who knows?
No. That was my big thing that was very important for my ending, was endings for weddings. A lot of people want SpongeBob to end with a wedding between SpongeBob and Sandy, and I'm like, no. SpongeBob isn't
Patrick and
about
Sandy
relationships
forever.
So yeah. And I guess at the very end, Pearl and Larry will kiss, because I didn't come up with an ending for them.
Pearl runs off with the boy
Gary's
band.
just there. I guess Gary would be the flower girl. That would make the most sense.
Gary be the ring bearer,
The
dude.
slowest flower
Yeah,
girl.
you're right. Yeah.
That's a really good gag, though. A really slow flower girl.
No, he'd be the ring
No,
bearer. He'd be
he'd
like,
be
okay,
the
now
ring-
the rings. And it would just take them good 5 minutes to get down the aisle.
He would be the ring gearer.
There, see.
Oh, snap. Oh, man. This has been Committed Critics. Thank you guys for joining us. You can follow Danny Vincent at Why Is with Ty and Dan and the Snub Club. Danny, those have socials too as well, right?
Yes. So the Snub Club, we are on Twitter at Snub the. We're also on Facebook and on I have a letterboxd, but I'll say that at the end. And then you can find Why Is on Twitter at Why Is with Ty and One, because I'm number one. That's what I always say in our sign off. And then we are also on Facebook under the name of our podcast. And then you can listen to all of ours on both those on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And Why Is with Ty and Dan is also on Pandora and YouTube. So
Nice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. That's what I do. Thanks for
Awesome.
having me on,
Yeah, we'll
guys.
have all that. We'll have that all linked in the description as well. You can follow us on Twitter at Committed Crits. That's COMMITTED CRITS. You can follow us on YouTube at Committed Critics, spelled the same there as it is here and everywhere else. You can support us on Patreon. Just $1 or $2 a month can help us help the show a great deal. Special thanks to our current patron, Davey Peppers from Game Mechanics. So check out his show; it's really great. Special thanks to our sound engineer, Jordan Smearman, and we will see you next week. Glad to have you on, Danny. And we'll let you go.
Glad to be here. Okay, bye.